Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I hope you are doing great and improving your English day by day with us. Today we are going to learn two very interesting and powerful English words that are connected with movement and speed. These two words are fleeing and sprinting. But before we begin, here is a question for you. Have you ever run very fast because you were afraid of something? And have you ever run very fast during a race or exercise? If your answer is yes, then you have already experienced the difference between fleeing and sprinting. Both words involve running fast, but the reason behind the running is completely different. Understanding this difference can make your English more natural, more advanced, and more expressive. Today we will deeply explore the meanings of fleeing and sprinting, the uses, their emotional tones, the grammar, and many real-life examples. By the end of this lecture, you will clearly know when to use fleeing and when to use sprinting in daily conversation, storytelling, writing, and spoken English. So let us begin. First, let us talk about the word fleeing. Fleeing comes from the verb flee. The word flee means to run away from danger, fear, trouble, violence, or an unpleasant situation. When someone is fleeing, they are trying to escape something harmful or threatening. The important idea behind fleeing is fear or danger. People flee when they want to protect themselves. They are not running for fun, exercise, or competition. They are running because they feel unsafe. For example, imagine a person escaping from a burning building. That person is fleeing from danger. Imagine people escaping from a war zone. They are fleeing from violence. Imagine a thief running away from the police. The thief is fleeing from arrest. So fleeing is strongly connected with fear, survival, escape, and urgency. Now let us look at the pronunciation. Fleeing. The word sounds smooth and stretched because of the long ee sound. Fleeing. Now let us understand the grammar. Fleeing is usually used as the present participle or continuous form of the verb flee. For example, the villagers are fleeing the area. The criminal was fleeing from the police. The family is fleeing the country because of war. Notice something important here. Sometimes flee is followed directly by an object, and sometimes it is followed by from. You can say, they fled the city, or, they fled from the city. Both are correct. Now let us deeply understand the emotional feeling behind the word fleeing. When you hear the word fleeing, you often imagine panic, fear, desperation, danger, chaos, or emergency. It is a dramatic and emotional word. It is commonly used in news reports, movies, novels, and serious conversations. For example, journalists often say, thousands of people are fleeing the conflict. Animals were fleeing the forest fire. The suspect was seen fleeing the scene. These sentences create a strong mental image of urgency and fear. Now let us move toward the word sprinting. Sprinting comes from the verb sprint. Sprint means to run very fast over a short distance. Usually, sprinting is connected with sports, fitness, exercise, racing, or quick physical movement. The important idea behind sprinting is speed and energy, not fear. When someone is sprinting, they are using maximum speed and power. A sprinter runs with intense effort for a short period of time. For example, athletes sprint in races. Football players sprint toward the goal. A student may sprint to catch a bus. A child may sprint across a playground. Unlike fleeing, sprinting does not necessarily involve fear or danger. It is mainly about moving extremely fast. Now let us pronounce it. Sprinting. Notice the sharp and energetic sound. Sprinting. Now let us understand the grammar. Sprinting is the continuous form of sprint. For example, the athlete is sprinting toward the finish line. The boy was sprinting across the field. She is sprinting to catch the train. Now let us understand the emotional feeling behind sprinting. When you hear the word sprinting, you usually imagine energy, competition, athleticism, speed, strength, determination, and movement. It sounds active and powerful rather than fearful. Now let us compare these two words directly. Fleeing is about escaping danger. Sprinting is about moving very fast. Fleeing focuses on the reason for running. Sprinting focuses on the speed of running. A person fleeing may or may not run in a perfect athletic way. They just want to escape quickly. A person sprinting is focused on speed and performance. Let us understand this difference with a simple situation. Imagine a man running out of a building because there is a fire. That man is fleeing. Now imagine an athlete running on a track during a competition. That athlete is sprinting. Both are running fast, but the purpose is different. This is the heart of the difference between fleeing and sprinting. Now let us discuss where these words are commonly used. Fleeing is commonly used in news reports, crime stories, war discussions, disaster situations, historical events, emotional storytelling. Sprinting is commonly used in sports commentary, fitness discussions, athletic training, action scenes, daily activities involving speed. Now let us discuss the tone of each word. Fleeing has a serious, emotional, and sometimes tragic tone. Sprinting has an energetic, competitive, and active tone. For example, the refugees were fleeing the country. This sounds serious and emotional. Now compare it with the runners were sprinting toward the finish line. This sounds exciting and energetic. Now let us study some common collocations. Collocations are words that naturally go together. Common collocations with fleeing: fleeing the country, fleeing the scene, fleeing danger, fleeing violence, fleeing from police, fleeing in panic. Common collocations with sprinting: sprinting toward the finish line, sprinting across the field, sprinting at full speed, sprinting down the road, sprinting during training, sprinting exercises. Now let us move toward the examples section. We will study 5 examples for fleeing and 5 examples for sprinting. Pay close attention to the meanings and situations. Examples of fleeing. Example 1. The villagers were fleeing the flood before the water reached their homes. In this sentence, the villagers are escaping danger. Example 2. The thief was fleeing from the police after stealing a motorcycle. Here, the thief is escaping arrest. Example 3. Thousands of families are fleeing the war to find safety in another country. This example shows fear and survival. Example 4. The animals were fleeing the forest fire as smoke filled the sky. Again, the focus is escape from danger. Example 5. She was fleeing an abusive situation and searching for a better life. This example shows emotional escape from suffering. Now let us study the examples of sprinting. Example 1. The athlete was sprinting toward the finish line with incredible speed. This is a sports situation. Example 2. The boy came sprinting across the playground after hearing the school bell. This sentence shows quick, energetic movement. Example 3. She was sprinting to catch the train before the doors closed. This is daily life usage. Example 4. The football player sprinted past the defenders and scored a goal. Again, this is sports related. Example 5. The children were sprinting around the park during their race competition. This example shows physical activity and energy. Now let us discuss a very important learning point. Sometimes people can flee while sprinting. Why? Because the two words can overlap in some situations. For example, the robber was sprinting down the street while fleeing from the police. In this sentence, sprinting describes the speed, while fleeing describes the purpose. This is an advanced English idea. Fleeing explains why someone is running. Sprinting explains how someone is running. This distinction can greatly improve your vocabulary skills. Now let us talk about synonyms. Synonyms of fleeing include escaping, running away, evading, retreating, avoiding. Synonyms of sprinting include dashing, racing, running fast, bolting, charging. However, remember that no synonym is exactly the same. Each word has its own feeling and usage. Now let us discuss some mistakes English learners often make. Mistake number 1. Using sprinting when talking about fear or danger. Incorrect sentence. The people were sprinting the war zone. Correct sentence. The people were fleeing the war zone. Why? Because they are escaping danger, not exercising or competing. Mistake number 2. Using fleeing in sports situations. Incorrect sentence. The athlete was fleeing toward the finish line. Correct sentence. The athlete was sprinting toward the finish line. Why? Because the athlete is racing, not escaping danger. Now let us make the understanding even deeper. Imagine 3 different scenes. Scene 1. A man hears an explosion and runs away in panic. He is fleeing. Scene 2. A runner competes in the Olympics. She is sprinting. Scene 3. A criminal runs extremely fast to escape the police. He is both fleeing and sprinting. Understanding context is the key to mastering English vocabulary. Now let us discuss how these words are used in movies and storytelling. In action movies, fleeing creates tension and suspense. For example, the hero was fleeing from armed enemies through dark streets. This creates fear and excitement. In sports movies, sprinting creates energy and determination. For example, the athlete kept sprinting despite the pain in his legs. This creates inspiration and intensity. Now let us study sentence patterns. Common sentence patterns with fleeing. Someone is fleeing something. Someone is fleeing from something. Someone fled somewhere. Examples. They are fleeing danger. He fled from prison. The refugees fled the city. Common sentence patterns with sprinting. Someone is sprinting somewhere. Someone sprinted past something. Someone sprinted towards something. Examples. She sprinted toward the bus. He sprinted past the defenders. They were sprinting across the road. Now let us discuss the difference in body language and mental state. A person fleeing usually looks frightened, nervous, desperate, or panicked. A person sprinting usually looks focused, determined, energetic, or competitive. This difference is very important in storytelling and description writing. Now let us imagine a short story. A young man was walking home late at night when suddenly he heard loud footsteps behind him. Fear filled his mind. He started fleeing through the narrow streets, looking back again and again. His heart was racing. He was not thinking about speed or athletic performance. He only wanted safety. Now compare this with another story. An athlete stood at the starting line. The crowd was cheering loudly. The whistle blew, and she started sprinting with all her strength. Her muscles pushed forward powerfully. Her eyes were fixed on the finish line. She was not escaping danger. She was chasing victory. Can you feel the emotional difference between the two situations? That is the beauty of English vocabulary. Now let us learn some advanced usage. Fleeing can also be used metaphorically. For example, he is fleeing responsibility. She is fleeing reality. This does not mean physically running away. It means emotionally or mentally avoiding something. Sprinting can also be used metaphorically sometimes. For example, technology is sprinting into the future. This means progressing very quickly. These advanced uses make your English sound more natural and intelligent. Now let us practice quick comparisons. Fleeing from danger. Sprinting in a race. Fleeing the country. Sprinting across the field. Fleeing from police. Sprinting toward victory. Fleeing because of fear. Sprinting because of competition. Notice how clearly the meanings separate. Now let us talk about pronunciation challenges for English learners. Many learners incorrectly pronounce fleeing as fleeing with an unnecessary extra sound. The correct pronunciation is smooth. Fleeing. Also, some learners pronounce sprinting too slowly. Remember, the word itself should sound energetic. Sprinting. Practice both words several times aloud. Fleeing. Sprinting. Fleeing. Sprinting. This repetition improves fluency and confidence. Now let us discuss why learning vocabulary comparisons is important. Many English learners know basic meanings but cannot understand subtle differences. This creates confusion in speaking and writing. For example, if you say, "The athlete was fleeing toward the finish line." Native speakers may understand you, but it sounds strange because fleeing carries the idea of fear. Choosing the correct word makes your English sound natural, professional, and fluent. That is why vocabulary comparison lessons are extremely powerful. Now let us do a small quiz. I will give you a situation, and you think about the correct word. Situation 1. A deer runs away after hearing a hunter's gunshot. The correct word is fleeing. Situation 2. A runner moves quickly during a 100-meter race. The correct word is sprinting. Situation 3. A student runs very fast because class is about to start. The correct word is sprinting. Situation 4. People escape from a dangerous earthquake area. The correct word is fleeing. Situation 5. A football player runs quickly toward the goalpost. The correct word is sprinting. Excellent. Now you are understanding the difference very clearly. Now let us discuss the cultural and emotional power of these words. The word fleeing often appears in discussions about refugees, war, disasters, and human suffering. It carries emotional weight and seriousness. The word sprinting often appears in discussions about sports, health, competition, and achievement. It carries excitement and energy. Because of this emotional difference, choosing the right word can completely change the feeling of a sentence. Now let us create a few more advanced comparison sentences. The civilians were fleeing the burning city while soldiers were sprinting toward the battlefield. The child came sprinting into the room, but the cat was fleeing from the barking dog. The suspect was sprinting through the market while fleeing from security officers. These sentences show how both words can sometimes appear together. Now let us learn a memory trick. If you want to remember fleeing, think of fear. Both words start with the letter F. Fleeing and fear. If you want to remember sprinting, think of sports. Both words start with the letter S. Sprinting and sports. This simple trick can help you remember the meanings forever. Now let us summarize everything we learned today. Fleeing means escaping from danger, fear, or trouble. Sprinting means running extremely fast, usually for sports, exercise, or quick movement. Fleeing focuses on the reason for running. Sprinting focuses on the speed of running. Fleeing sounds emotional and serious. Sprinting sounds energetic and powerful. Understanding this difference can improve your spoken English, writing skills, storytelling ability, and vocabulary strength. Before ending this lecture, here is one final question for you. If a dog suddenly started chasing you on the street, would you be fleeing or sprinting? Think carefully. The best answer is probably both. You would be sprinting because you are running very fast, and you would be fleeing because you are escaping danger. And that perfectly explains the relationship between these two words. Thank you so much for watching and learning with us today. I hope this lesson helped you clearly understand the difference between fleeing and sprinting. Keep practicing these words in your daily conversations and writing exercises. The more you use advanced vocabulary correctly, the more confident and fluent your English will become. If you enjoyed this lecture and want to improve your English vocabulary even more, make sure to support the channel and continue learning with us. See you in the next lesson with another exciting vocabulary comparison. Until then, keep learning, keep practicing, and keep growing.